Hello busy dads and busy people everywhere. In this short video, I want to offer some advice to people who are new to burpees and want to start their own training practice based around the movement. If you are new to burpees and you're considering building a training practice around the burpee movement, welcome my friends. I strongly believe that it is the single most effective calisthenics movement out there. The question is, what approach should you take when you're trying to build your practice from the ground up? Now there are two kinds of beginners. There are people coming to burpees with no background in training at all, and people coming already with some kind of athletic background. But I believe that the advice I'm about to give is applicable to both groups. Whenever you're starting a training practice, what you need to do, of course, is to find some ambitious but realistic goals for yourself. If your goals are so ambitious that they're not realistic, your training will be demoralizing. If they're so realistic that they're not ambitious, your training will be boring. And if you have no goals at all, you'll go nowhere. So the sweet spot is to find ambitious yet realistic goals. But the question is, what should those goals be? And here we come to the standard piece of advice that we typically give newcomers in the burpee community. And that piece of advice is to focus on a certain number of reps. What you will very often hear people say to a complete beginner is, work up until you can perform 100 burpees. Okay, and then come back to me once you can do that, and we'll go from there. Now, I don't think that that's the worst piece of advice in the world, but I do believe that there is a much more effective approach that you can take as a beginner. Here's my issue with that standard piece of advice, which focuses on numbers considered in isolation. That approach is building the emphasis on what we can call absolute training volume, just the number of reps considered in a vacuum. But here's the thing, just improving your absolute training volume doesn't necessarily force your body to adapt or grow fitter and stronger. Think about it this way. If on Monday I perform, let's say, 10 burpees in 10 minutes, and on Tuesday I perform, let's say, 15 burpees in 20 minutes, my absolute training volume increased. I got closer to 100 reps, but I probably didn't get any fitter. The reason that I put reps onto my absolute training volume was just that I stuck around for longer. What I focus on, and what has been transformational for me, is instead of thinking about absolute training volume, to think about volume relative to time. Rather than getting hung up on a number of reps, find a fixed time window for yourself. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes. In the Busy Dad program, it's 20 minutes. And every time you train, try to build more training volume into that same fixed time window. Try to improve your volume to time ratio rather than focusing on volume in a vacuum. And here's why. Say on Monday, I can perform 50 burpees in 10 minutes. And on Tuesday, I can perform 55 burpees in 10 minutes. Well, how did I make that jump in terms of my numbers? I must have done one of two things. Either I learned to perform the rep more quickly, or I learned to make do with less recovery time between reps. And here's the thing, whichever one of those two things I did, I will have created a training stimulus that has forced a physiological adaptation. There's just no way of building your training, your volume relative to time, of improving your volume to time ratio. There's no way of doing that without getting fitter and stronger in the process. So my advice to you, if you're a newcomer, and if you want to get fit and see very quick results and transformations in your physiological state, not just in your psychological state, is stop getting hung up on numbers. It doesn't matter if you can perform 100 reps, it doesn't matter if you can perform 500 reps. Instead of focusing on numbers, focus on volume relative to time. You don't want to go around boasting when you can do 100 reps, but you want to tell people when you can do 100 reps in 10 minutes. Especially if when you started out you could only do 80 reps in 10 minutes. That's what real progress looks like. That is the kind of progress that will bring about a complete transformation in your body and your fitness. That is the approach we take here on the Busy Dad program, okay? And if you're ready for a 20-minute time window to be your window that you train in, I suggest that you test into the Busy Dad program right away. If 20 minutes of straight burpee training seems like too much right now, I recommend starting with a lower time frame, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes. But try out this approach. Instead of getting focused and hung up on numbers, pick a time frame for yourself. And every time you train, try to add numbers without adding any time. Okay. So that, my friends, is my piece of advice. If you are just beginning your burpee training practice, welcome. I strongly believe, as I said, that it is an unbelievably powerful training modality. I think you're going to see incredible results if you take the trademark Busy Dad volume to time approach. Thanks for listening, my friends. Hope to hear from you soon.